Hey everyone, how's it going? Hope you're all keeping well. So, this is the second episode in this series of looking at the tracks from the new album from my band, The Gravity Drive, called The Wildlight. If you haven't seen the first episode, there'll be a link in the card and also in the description down below, so feel free to check that out as well. Last time we had a look at a song called Kaleidoscope, which is quite big and anthemic, and there's lots of layers and instrumentation and things, and I thought it'd be nice this time to look at one of the more sparse tracks on the album. So we're going to take a look at a song called Inside Out.
Do we know the way we really feel? Do we know if what we feel is real? 'Cause I can get you off my mind.
Elijah wrote Inside Out when he was getting more into becoming an electric guitarist within the band. Up until this album, he's always been quite a rhythmic acoustic player, so he was on a bit of a development journey trying to build his skills on the electric guitar, and I think he wrote the song on the electric, and it had a really soft, sort of gentle sound, and originally it was almost that was going to be the song, just that really gentle, nice reverbed guitar and just the vocals, and it was going to have lots of space, and that was it. But over time we just added little details just to flesh it out a bit more as a production, to get it to tie in with the rest of the tracks on the album. We wanted to add drums to the track, but not in a way that would draw focus or kind of stand on top of that really delicate guitar, so we opted for using brushes. But with the brushes, I was wary that if I do almost like a train rhythm, chugga 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 chugga, I was quite wary that it would make it automatically sound more like a folk or a country type of song. So with the bass drum rhythm, I decided to introduce the push in there just to make it not sound completely like that style. The sound of the drums would fit in with that style, but the pattern would be pulled from maybe something like a hip-hop kind of groove. So I ended up with this beat that's like boot ga boot ga boot ga boot ga ga, and just that double snare accent as well, that helps to just pull it away from being very, just repetitive and just light and airy. It just adds a little bit more syncopation and a bit more of a push and pull to the groove. When it comes to gear, I was actually borrowing a Sia stave drum, which is an Australian drum maker, a bit like the Brady drums. So they use stave blocks, and it was made out of a wood called black butt. If you're 5, you probably find it funny that it says butt in the title, like me. So we used that. It was a very shallow drum, so it's like 14 by 4, I think. But it was really sensitive, so especially with brushes, you weren't just hearing the sound of the brush hitting the top head. The snare wires would always respond, so you get quite a sort of splashy sound from the bottom as well, which I really liked. And in the room at Middle Farm, it came to life a little bit more. The snare sounded a bit bigger because the snares were really responding to the sound. So alongside that, we also used a 26-inch Yamaha 9000 bass drum, I think it was, the Recording Custom line, the vintage one. And part of me just thought, I've never tried a 26-inch bass drum. What is that going to sound like? But obviously you can't just, make it rock and punchy when these songs are really soft and delicate. So I used, I think it's like a Vic Firth like fleece beater, like a really big beater that's nice and fluffy. And it took away all the attack, and all you're left with is this kind of woofy woo each time. And there wasn't a lot of muffling inside the drum, so the notes would kind of sustain. It wouldn't just be boom and it's gone. It would just have this nice gradual fade out to it as well. And as you'll hear in a minute, actually, I think what's great is this collaboration between our producer Paul, and then also when it went on to Chris Potter to mix. At each point, each person added a little something to the bass drum sound. So Paul added this nice reverb just to help widen the sound and make it sound like big and cavernous, but also kind of in the distance as well. And then Chris took it further when he was mixing, and I think he introduced a sample that did actually have quite a bit of an attack. And when you hear it with the rest of the record, it actually makes perfect sense. So you've got this kind of big bass drum anyway, with tons of low end. When you look on the EQ, it's just sub crazy amounts. And then you've got Paul adding like a nice reverb just to make it kind of wide and also sort of set it back from everything else. And then Chris added a sample when he mixed it. And the kind of combination of all three just gives this lovely, punchy, yet big. It's a very cool sound. So you'll check that out in a second. I had one cymbal on the kit as well, which was a Meinl 22-inch Benny Greb Crash Ride. And what's nice about that cymbal is, A, it's really thin, so it responds to brushes, opens up very quickly. But it's also got 3 rivets in it, so you just get this nice sizzly sustain as it kind of gradually fades out. And to me that added almost like a twinkly sound. For some reason I always imagine, like a little shooting star just kind of flying across the horizon when it comes in. It just, adds a nice little colour, and it's very sparsely used. I think I maybe used it 2 or 3 times max. So that's it for this section. Let's take a look at the Logic project, and I'll give you a chance to hear those drum tracks in isolation along with the rest of the music. Alright, so here we are with the Logic session. So I've separated the drums up. So we've got the Chris Potter kind of mix stems, because those are going to sound more sort of appropriate when everything's in. But then I've also got our producer Paul stems, so you can hear like the actual individual tracks that were recorded on the day, and also you can hear that reverb effect that I spoke about earlier that he's also added. So the drums don't actually come in until the second verse, so after the chorus. Like I said earlier, it's kind of quite a gradual build, so all the elements in this track are just gradually ramping up as we're going. So first of all, I thought it's just going to be nice to have a listen up until that point, because I think it's a nice song. Why not? We got time, people.
I've been unavailable to love. I've been unassailable too much. But I can get you off my mind. You take me by surprise at the way you realize the feelings that I hide. So don't be in any doubt. I was lost, but
drums
now
coming up.
I'm found. You turn me inside out. Do we know the way we really feel? Do we know if what we feel is real?
Cool. Yeah, so let's take a look at the Paul Knight stems. So basically, mic-wise, because we had been to Middle Farm a few times and we got an idea of what the sound is like. We kind of didn't need to go overkill and just put 18,000 mics in the room this time round. So we've got kick in, kick out, and that's on that 26-inch 9,000 bass drum. We've got snare top on the Sia stave drum, so snare top, snare bottom, pair of overheads left and right, and then rooms left and right as well. So let's just take a look, just isolate a little section here. So we just take we'll just take a listen to each one, and also we've got the reverb that Paul added as well. So if I just isolate one at a time, and I'll just kind of build the kit up and bring them in. So this is the kick-in mic. So as I mentioned earlier, there's very little attack, and that's partly because I used that really woolly, fleecy beater. So you're just getting a very woofy kind of whoop. And you can hear there's kind of a bit of a wobble in the sound, which is kind of nice. Boom, boom. Cool. Let's check out the kick out mic. That's like mega low end. It's crazy. These headphones I think are just about picking it up, but whoa, that's a lot. So with the two together, and it's almost with the two together, it's almost just a bit woolly in a way. So I think, again, testament to Chris's mixing. He's taken that and really cleaned it up, and obviously he felt that at that point it needed some attack, so he added it in himself, which is cool. And let's just take a little look at the reverb that Paul has added. Ooh. That's big and pretty wide. Yeah, that's like stank face goodness. Alright, so if I just put all those three together, again, it's probably like way too much low end with all those sources. So I'm sure Chris maybe selected one or the other of the mics. I don't know. I think he's just great. So that reverb's already adding a lot of atmosphere to the sound. And I like the fact it's delayed, so you can hear it kind of go boom, boom. It sort of spreads out to the edges. Oh, that's pretty, yeah, that's quite something. Alright, so moving on to the snare. So we've got our snare top. And there's quite a lot of bleed from the bass drum in there, and it's probably just because it's massive, so it's just spreading sound all around. And that reminds me, actually, I remember recording this. One thing I slightly struggled with, because I'm not naturally a brush player, is trying to keep the level of the bass drum down so that the brush level on the microphones could come through. But it's not just all bass drum, but even here, there's still quite a lot of bass drum in there. So I probably need to work on my touch playing the bass drum lightly. But it came through alright. But yeah, there's a lot of bass drum bleed in that mic already. So let's take a look at the undersnare. And I added these little like turnaround bits every so often. Gat. Yeah, that bit there. Yeah, so that was what I mentioned about earlier with the Sia snare, where the sensitivity of it going straight through to those snare wires, that really adds that nice crisp rhythm that just helps to slightly cut through the mix better. So with the two together, it sounds like there's a bass drum mic on. There's not, it's just lots of bleed. That would be a challenge to mix, I'm sure, but anyway, moving on. So overhead left and right. I haven't hard panned these, I've kind of gone, yeah, nearly hard panned. It's amazing how much cleaner the overheads are, because they're just letting the sound breathe in the room a bit more. Yeah, there's a really nice top end to those overheads. Those sound great. And again, a bit like the last track, that middle farm room is, you put overheads over the kit and they almost sound like they're halfway into becoming room mics anyway. Okay, so let's take a look at the room mics themselves. So I think we just went for a space pair, but not very far from the kit. I think they were probably about waist height, because you can really hear it's definitely picking up a lot of the bass drum again. Cool, so let's have a listen to all of those stems all together. So yeah, there you have it. So there's definitely a lot of low end on everything. So yeah, I salute Chris for mixing that and not making it sound like a kind of woolly mess. But yeah, it's interesting. There's a lot of subby lows to that sound, and then like light brushes on top. So it leaves lots of space in the kind of mid range for everything else. So what I wanted to do now is just take a quick look at Chris's mixed stems in isolation. So what he's done is used the bass drum mics, but he's put them into the kit stem. So if we just take a look at that first. Or maybe he hasn't. It just sounds like the bass drum's really prominent. Again, that's probably just because he's great at mixing. So yeah, that's the kit stem, and then the bass drum that's where I think the chances are he's added a sample, because the attack that's there just wasn't present in the original recording. But what's great about him is he always seems to know what it needs, but he also honours what's there. It's not like, oh yeah, I've just taken what you've done and just replaced the entire thing. Because it's kind of slightly disheartening when you've put all that effort into recording for someone just to go, yeah, that sucks, I'm just gonna put my own thing on top. So yeah, he's honoured what's there, but just added in the right element so that in the whole track it just works as a whole. It's quite an electronic sound, a really hard-hitting kick. But you can still hear that reverb still present on the sides, and there's still the bass drum mics, because you can still hear a little bit of bleed from the snares. So I think it still sounds a bit more organic. It obviously sounds like it's enhanced, but it's not completely artificial. Cool, and then let's have a listen to the snares. Again, that bleed's still present, still present, not pleasant. And then with the bass drum, oh, that bass drum comes to life. And with the whole kit, I think those rooms really help the kit to just spread out as well, fill in the gaps. Cool, so then if I just play that now with the record, what I'll do is I'll start off with Chris's stems, and then I'll mute those and I'll switch to Paul's stems from the original session, and hopefully you'll hear that bass drum sample is really helping just to give it a bit more presence. And for the part that I chose, I think it was a superb choice to, yeah, it just makes that part really pronounced rather than just sort of this soft thing that's hard to make out what's going on. So anyway, yeah, this is Chris's stems with the record. Just really hit, it's great. Yeah, they sound ace. I love what he's done with that. Cool. So, not that let's have a listen to the original stems from the session. Not that they're bad sounding to me at all. It just almost sounds a little bit apologetic. It's just going boom, boom. Sorry, I'm here. So yeah, I love what Chris has done to that. I think it sounds really nice. So we're going to stick with Chris's stems now for the rest of this. And what I wanted to do is just, really, this part it's very cyclical in nature. I think that helps to lull you into this sense of just dreaminess about the whole track. But near the end of the track, I don't know why, but I just found this nice little, it almost sounds a little bit like a breakbeat, sort of little drum and bass turnaround kind of variation. So let's just find where that is. There it comes. It's just one little moment, so let's just have a listen to that in isolation. I don't really know where it came from. I just, sometimes it's nice just to throw a little bit of spice, like an unsuspecting. And it only happens once in a track, and it's right at the end of the last chorus. So yeah, I thought that was a nice little turnaround just to kind of grab your attention, and then we kind of reset back to the regular groove again. Because this pattern, other than that occasional that little extra pickup note there, it's pretty much the same beat throughout. It doesn't really change an awful lot. And that's, again, when that rivet ride comes in, the crash ride. And it's just really subtle, and just a nice little shh over the top. And then here we've got this nice little slowdown. And that's where you just hear that nice sparkle there on the crash ride to finish. It's surprisingly hard to record a drum track where it slows down and know exactly which notes to slow down where. And I think I basically just played to a guide guitar track that was put down originally. And then I tried to get it as close to that as I could. And then it was kind of Elijah's job to then follow me after that to make sure it all kind of stayed cohesive and played together. And it's funny, like, I listen back now and I'm dragging more than everyone else is, but I suppose it just, it sounds human. That's kind of how those things go. And so that's kind of it, drums. There's not much else to really talk about other than, just listening to the whole track. So what I wanted to maybe have a little look at is just some of the elements of other things in there, because I think there's just subtle little things that just really, especially like if we take a look at the choruses. So this is just the main guitar. So I think this is acoustic guitar and electric together, just playing the same part. You can hear that nice like little fret squeaks on the acoustic. If I put the second part in, it's like a really nice harmony that sort of twists it upside down. I think this is where the dreaminess comes from with this track. And then there's an organ part on top. So subtle, you barely notice it's there. That's the payoff for me. Like in that last chorus, right at the end there's just that high note on the organ. It just goes, bah. Let's have a listen to that. I love that. And it's just nice little sort of phasing things happening. It's just, that's just really it. The amount of tracks total on the original project was really not a lot. There we go. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you did enjoy it, please give it a like or subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next episode. Thanks for watching. Take care.